The images dominating our feeds from April 2026 are stark. They show a food crisis unfolding across the United States, a direct result of over 4,100 Walmart stores shutting down. We see low-income neighborhoods turned into food deserts, where a trip for basic groceries is now an 80-kilometer journey. The root of this is not a natural disaster. It's a policy decision. The chain reaction began when former President Trump issued a direct command to Walmart on social media, eat the tariffs, and not charge valued customers anything. This turn of events forces a fundamental question. What happens when the cheapest store in America suddenly isn't cheap anymore and then starts disappearing altogether? Now, it's easy to view this as a uniquely American drama. That would be a mistake. What we're witnessing south of the border is a high-speed case study in the same quiet economic erosion many of us are already sensing here in Canada. This video provides the framework to understand that hidden chain reaction, the one that connects a distant policy headline to the stability of our own communities. This is the situation unfolding there. But what about here? Have you noticed a similar quiet erosion of affordability or access in your own Canadian community? Share the specific changes you've seen in the comments below. To truly understand the fragility this crisis exposes and to see the warning signs for ourselves, we need to go back. We need to dissect the precise moment this entire sequence was set in motion. That precise moment was a policy decision in early 2025. This is where the chain reaction begins. The administration enacted a sweeping set of tariffs targeting goods from major trading partners, China, Mexico, and for us, this is critical, Canada. The stated intention was, on the surface, logical. It was framed as a necessary measure to protect American industry and to reassert a degree of economic control. In the world of public policy, this is a familiar narrative, a seemingly rational goal. But the policy's primary immediate ripple effect was not strengthened production. The first domino to fall was something far more fundamental. The impact was not on factory floors, but on checkout counters. It was a direct hit on the cost of the basic, everyday goods that millions of Americans depend on for survival. The very products that fill the shelves of a store like Walmart. This is the core conflict, the gap between a policy's stated purpose and its ground-level consequences. The first consequence, the one that set the stage for the crisis we saw, was a quiet but relentless increase in the price of essentials. The next logical question then is by how much? By how much? In some cases, by nearly 50%. That's the number that started appearing on price tags for goods like cookware. Across other essential categories, the increases settled between 20 and 35%, all within a few months. This wasn't a theoretical economic model. It was the direct, measurable translation of a policy decision in Washington into a concrete cost at the Canadian checkout counter. The purchasing power of families was shrinking in real time. The immediate question is why a behemoth like Walmart couldn't simply absorb these costs. The answer lies in the fundamental architecture of its business. The entire model is built on razor-thin margins. For every dollar you spend, Walmart might only make a few cents in profit. Its strength is volume, not markup. So when the cost of its goods suddenly jumps by 20 or 30% due to tariffs, there's simply no buffer to absorb it. The cost has only one place to go, directly onto the price tag you see in the aisle. This isn't an apology for the corporation. It is a statement of mechanical reality. Walmart's own leadership confirmed this. On May 15th, 2025, CEO Doug McMillon stated it plainly. We will do our best to keep our prices as low as possible, but given the magnitude of the tariffs, we aren't able to absorb all the pressure given the reality of narrow retail margins. The signal was unambiguous. The costs would be passed on. independent analysis quickly validated the trend. An October 2025 report from the St. Louis Fed found that the new tariffs accounted for a stunning 10.9% of annual headline inflation, confirming a direct pass-through to consumers. By April of 2026, the Yale Budget Lab documented that prices for imported household essentials had risen between 5 and 6.6% since the tariffs began. The evidence formed an undeniable wall of data, all pointing to the same conclusion, but this relentless price pressure did more than just strain household budgets. It exposed a fatal vulnerability hidden deep inside Walmart's own operational DNA, a flaw hidden within the very business model that made it the world's most efficient retailer. So the critical question becomes, what happens when a system perfected for absolute low-cost efficiency collides with a sudden, unabsorbable cost inefficiency? The answer reveals exactly how the first domino fell, starting the chain reaction that led to the crisis. The answer to that question, how the system broke, isn't found in a complex financial derivative or a boardroom secret. It lies in a single brutal metric: sales volume. Walmart's entire global empire, its seemingly invincible scale, isn't built on high profit margins from each item sold. It is built on selling an astronomical quantity of goods at margins that are, by design, razor thin. This is the core of its DNA. To understand this, think of a local Walmart supercenter as a massive ferry crossing a channel. This ferry is only profitable if it sails at 95% capacity on every single trip. For years, that's exactly what it did, reliably full. But the 2025 tariff policy was like a sudden mandatory surcharge on every ticket. Now what happens? The ferry doesn't just make more money. In a price-sensitive town, some people simply stop traveling or travel less. Suddenly, the ferry is sailing at just 85% capacity. To the casual observer, it still looks busy, it still looks full. But the entire operation is now hemorrhaging cash on every single run. The model has broken. This is precisely what happened to Walmart. The tariffs were that ticket surcharge. And in communities where every dollar is counted, the response from households wasn't simply to absorb the higher prices. The response was to defend their budgets by spending less. We saw this play out with textbook clarity on the ground in places like Corsicana, Texas, as prices on groceries and household essentials jumped between 18 and 30%. The observable behavior of shoppers changed almost overnight. Shopping carts that were once routinely overflowing started to have empty space in them. The predictable weekly grocery run stretched into a 10-day run, or even every 2 weeks. People were forced to make choices at the shelf, buying fewer items, foregoing the non-essential purchase, making do with less. Each of these individual, rational decisions, when multiplied by thousands of customers, created a devastating aggregate effect. And this is the critical insight, the moment the giant stumbles. From the outside, the parking lot still looks active, but internally the total volume of sales had dropped just enough to fall below that crucial profitability line. This ignited a fatal death spiral. On one side, the store's costs were actively rising because of the tariffs on imported goods. On the other side, its total revenue was simultaneously falling because of this unavoidable change in customer behavior. It's a financial vice grip tightening from both directions that squeezes the store's operational finances until it simply can no longer afford to keep the lights on. This wasn't a case of poor local management or a one-off failure. This is a recognized systemic risk inherent to this business model. In fact, the Deloitte 2026 Retail Industry Outlook confirms this exact vulnerability, noting that any significant reduction in purchasing power within low and middle income households directly pressures the viability of high volume, thin margin retailers operating in those specific areas. So, the blueprint for collapse is chillingly simple. A national policy decision triggers a price hike in aisle 7. That price hike forces a subtle but fatal change in a family's spending. which in turn breaks the financial model of the one store that entire community depended on. What we witnessed in Corsicana was not just one store closing. It was the first visible tremor of a nationwide economic earthquake. When this exact pattern replicates itself across hundreds of similar towns, it doesn't just leave behind empty buildings. It carves a new and dangerous geography into the landscape, a map defined by what we now call food deserts. And this isn't some abstract academic term. The United States Department of Agriculture has a very clear definition for what a food desert is. It's a low-income area where a significant number of residents lack access to an affordable and nutritious food supply, and they identify the closure of large grocery stores like Walmart as a primary driver of this phenomenon. What happened in Corsicana, Texas was the model. Now, let's watch it replicate across the country. The geography changes, but the blueprint of the collapse remains identical. Take Itasca County, Minnesota. Before the Walmart in the town of Rapids closed, a family could get their weekly groceries in a 15-minute drive. It was the community's economic anchor. After the closure, not only were nearly 200 people left without a job, but the next affordable supermarket was suddenly almost 30 kilometers away. For those without a reliable car, that now means a 2-hour round trip on a bus that only runs twice a day. The simple act of buying food becomes an entire day's logistical challenge. Or look at Visalia, California, a working-class community. When their store shuttered, the nearest full-service grocery store became a nearly 40-kilometer drive. In a place where every dollar counts, the cost of fuel to simply get to the food begins to compete with the cost of the food itself. It's a quiet, brutal tax on the working poor. We saw the direct social fallout in Corsicana, where local churches reported a 60% surge in requests for food assistance within weeks of the closure. In Venice, Florida, we saw another consequence. When the Walmart there closed, the remaining local stores saw an opportunity. They hiked prices on staples, bread, milk, eggs by 40 to 50%. For the area's large population of retirees on fixed incomes, that single act turns a tight budget into an impossible one. And then you have the truly vast distances of the American Southwest. In places like Carlsbad and Roswell, New Mexico, the closure of a single major store means residents now face drives exceeding 80 kilometers. It creates what geographers call commercial voids. Entire regions scrubbed clean of essential, affordable retail. Minnesota, California, Texas, Florida, New Mexico. Do you see the pattern? These aren't isolated corporate decisions. They are the predictable, cascading consequences of a single policy lever being pulled in Washington. Each one of these stories, each one of these newly formed food deserts, traces its origin back to that same fatal disruption of the razor-thin profit model we broke down earlier. But here is where the picture gets more complex and, frankly, more concerning for us here in Canada. While the tariff was the trigger, the specific event that pushed these stores over the financial cliff, it was firing into a system that was already deeply fragile. These communities had pre-existing vulnerabilities that made them uniquely susceptible to this kind of shock. And understanding those vulnerabilities is the key to seeing what happens next and how this crisis inevitably finds its way across the border. That's a fair question. The tariffs were the catalyst, absolutely, but they landed in an environment that was already under intense pressure. To see the full picture, we have to look at two other powerful forces that had already weakened the foundation of these communities. First was the relentless, quiet advance of dollar stores. These businesses operate on a different model. They don't aim to replace a full grocery run, but they expertly skim the most profitable, non-perishable items from a larger store's sales volume. Think packaged goods, cleaning supplies, snacks. This isn't just a theory. Its impact is measurable. Research from the USDA published in May 2024 found that the entry of a new dollar store increases the closure risk for a competing grocery store by 5% in rural areas. For years, this trend was slowly siphoning away the lifeblood of profit margin from these larger Walmart locations, leaving their grocery sections increasingly vulnerable. Second, we have to look at Walmart's own internal strategy. The company was not a passive victim in this process. In its official statements from 2023 and 2026, the corporation didn't point to tariffs as the sole cause. The language was precise and strategic, citing the closure of underperforming locations as part of a broader response to economic and geopolitical volatility. This confirms that a strategic review was already underway. It also explains why official fact-checkers consistently debunked viral claims like the false rumor of 250 stores closing in California for tariff reasons alone. The company was already pruning its own network. So these forces aren't contradictory, they are compounding. Think of a community's retail ecosystem as a bridge. For years, the dollar store expansion was quietly eroding its concrete foundations. Simultaneously, Walmart's corporate headquarters was already inspecting that same bridge, marking certain pillars as underperforming and scheduled for removal. The structure was still standing, but it was compromised. The tariff policy was the sudden, heavy load that the weakened bridge could no longer support. It was the acute shock that tipped a chronic condition into outright failure. We now have the complete diagnosis of the American system's failure. But this is not a contained event. Economic shockwaves do not respect borders. Now we trace the fallout. We follow the precise pathways, from their distribution centers to our transport trucks, to understand how the collapse of a store in New Mexico directly affects the price of essentials on the shelves in British Columbia. That path from New Mexico to British Columbia isn't a physical road. It is a complex network of integrated supply chains built over decades. Think of the North American economy under the USMCA as a single, shared circulatory system. A shock in one major artery in the United States doesn't just stay there. The pressure is inevitably felt everywhere, right down to the capillaries of our own Canadian communities. The critical mechanism to understand is that the 2025 tariff policy was not a one-way street. When the U.S. imposed tariffs on its partners, including Canada, we and others responded with retaliatory tariffs. This created a feedback loop of rising costs. It's a tax on the entire system, raising the price of input materials for goods manufactured and sold on both sides of the border. This isn't just theory. The Yale Budget Lab projected that the policy would cause a persistent price rise equivalent to between 0.6 and 0.76% of personal consumption expenditures. Crucially, their analysis showed this cost would be felt across the integrated North American economy, not isolated within the U.S. So, what did that mean specifically for us here at home? The Bank of Canada gave us a clear signal. Their analysis in early 2025 modeled that these retaliatory tariffs would not only reduce our exports, but directly raise consumer prices on the 13% of goods in our own consumer price index basket that are sourced from the United States. But what does a percentage point on an analyst's chart feel like in your own household budget? The Canadian Home Builders Association, alongside Scotiabank, put a precise number on it. They estimated the tariff war would add approximately $1,100 to annual household costs, while also slowing the construction of new homes. This wasn't some distant future problem. This was the tangible reality of 2025. It was the higher price for imported fruits at the local grocery store. It was the rising cost of your morning coffee. For anyone building a deck or finishing a basement, it was the sticker shock on essential materials like lumber and steel. And this brings us back to the Walmart's closing across the United States. That story isn't a foreign headline. It is a meticulously documented case study. It is a real-world demonstration of what happens when these subtle, cross-border economic pressures accumulate year after year, until a system we all took for granted simply reaches its breaking point. It proves that the line between a profitable community anchor and an abandoned building is thinner than we ever imagined. The question it forces us to ask is, which systems on our side of the border are operating on margins just as thin? What we've traced throughout this analysis is not an isolated incident. It reveals a pattern. A single tariff decision in Washington becomes a higher price tag for a family in Texas. That price hike eventually breaks a core business model, leading to a closed store in Minnesota. And through the deeply integrated circulatory system of our two economies, it ultimately lands as a more expensive grocery bill right here in Toronto. This entire chain reaction doesn't register as a sudden dramatic collapse. No single news headline captures the full picture. It is something quieter, and for that reason, more concerning. A gradual unraveling. A slow, systemic fraying of the commercial ties and economic assumptions we've long taken for granted, happening just beneath the surface of daily life. This brings us to the final and most critical question. Is this simply a temporary adjustment, a period of economic turbulence we will pass through? Or are we witnessing the beginning of a permanent shift in how our communities, both American and Canadian, access something as fundamental as food? Is the era of predictable, affordable access quietly drawing to a close? If understanding these hidden connections, the clear lines linking a policy headline to the reality on the ground, is important to you, then I encourage you to subscribe for more breakdowns that connect strategic decisions to their real-world consequences.